We bring the city council meeting to order on Wednesday, March 13th, 2024 at 6:34 p.m. We are in person and virtual. And may I get a roll call, please?
Corrigan here.
Askey here.
Huchar here. Potter here.
Adine here.
Please stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We'll go ahead and start with public comment. Thank you, Marcia. Is there anybody that is interested in speaking at public comment? Please, Ms. Perry. And you'll have 3 minutes.
So I read through the packet today or yesterday and read through the Rux Group summary of the strategic plan. And there were 3 things that caught my eye immediately. One was the community involvement, how the city should get people involved in whatever is going on. One of which should be city council meetings. And it states on the agenda that public comment is welcome, but regardless of what the comments are or the questions that are asked, that's where it ends. It's never, the only comment that's ever made is thank you for your comment. And part of the reason why people no longer come to city council meetings is just that reason. There's a couple people that I just talked to the other day that said the same thing. I'm not coming to them anymore because everything goes to the wayside. Nothing is important that any of the community members have to say. And the new people in town, I don't even know if they even know about the city council meetings because that information is never put out to the people other than Facebook or the website. So they could be clueless that there's even city council meetings going on.
In the post office.
But a lot of people, like the new subdivisions, they don't have to go to the post office to get their mail. You know, only the ones that live on the main roads have to actually go to the post office. But either way. And then the other one was the highway safety on 47 and 240. And for years, I have been addressing just those 2 issues, mainly 47 because that's where I live. And there's always an excuse or it's ignored that there's an issue. And for the most part, over the last few months, Travis is the only one that I ever see that even remotely begins to stop people, whether he's giving them citations or tickets or warnings, I don't know. But I do know that I see him multiple times whenever he's on duty, going in either one of the directions on 47, stopping people for what, I don't know. Mostly I'm having to make the assumption that it's speeding because that's the big issue on 47. And there have been 3 incidents on the corner of at the corner of T&E on 240 and 47, where 2 of which an officer was sitting there, and one of which involved my husband crossing 240, almost getting hit, and nothing was done. There was another incident where a semi was facing the wrong direction, parked across the street from T&E. Nothing was done. So I don't know why it's like that, but we're paying our officers to do a job, one of which is enforce our speeds and the traffic violations and whatever else. And it's not only my opinion, because I'm not the only one saying these things, it's a lot of people's opinion that it's just not getting done. And excuses, I'm sorry, don't cut it with me. And they don't other people either. So the third one is the infrastructure. And this has also been going on for years where we've got issues with our infrastructure, yet everybody wants to continue to build. We've got issue with our sewer potentially with this new subdivision coming in, not having the capacity to carry the whole load. And everybody wants to expand the UGB. That's been what's talked about recently. But we can't expand the UGB, continue to grow, allow the outside water districts to use up however many hundreds of thousands of gallons that they use a month, and not address the issue of our water once and for all, and get that taken care of before any more building is done. Get contracts, which I am very much aware of. I know what all the contracts say. I know that they're all of them, with the exception of 2, that state no, only for household purposes only. Yet the mushroom farm, farmers, cattle farmers, all these people are using whatever amount of water that they want. And whether anybody likes to say it or not, if we continue to grow and we continue to let the outside water districts use an unlimited amount of water, they're the ones that are going to be cut off. And it states right in the contracts that if it gets to a point where we are in an emergency situation with no water, they will be cut off. And because I know this, and if it's not pursued, if we get to that point, guess who's going to be talking the loudest in these city council meetings? So.
You're 5.5 minutes.
Okay, well, the last thing that I have to say is that everybody involved needs to, and I'm sure you're gonna take this the wrong way, but coming out of my mouth, you shouldn't. Everybody needs to get off their pedestals and start paying attention to what the city needs as a whole, not just a few people. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Ms. Kirsch, would you like public comment? Mr. Davis?
Sure. Mayor, thank you. Council, thank you. To answer your question previously, I was talking about where I went as a representative for Yam Hill Neighborhood Association was the Lincoln County Evacuation Assembly Point. This was the predecessor drill, if you would, to a May 13th, May 14th event, which will be held in the same location, the Lincoln County or Lincoln City Newport Airport. Sorry, I'll get it right. But anyway, we had a fun time. It was a 2-hour, 10-minute ride. I spent from 9 to 4 o'clock with primarily half of it till noon in a training session learning about shelters, disasters, disaster preparedness, and all things alike. Very informative. The more I find out, the more I realize, the more I don't know. So, but anyway, at 1 o'clock after we had our MRE? Yeah, MRE for the first time. Yum. You got to know how to deal with the heating packet. But in any case, we took off and went to the airport for our training session. The training session consisted of opening 2 connexes full of gear. One connex was generators, lights, products and stuff for this disaster training effort. And the other one was these $15,000 tents, which basically set up in about 15 minutes. They come in this case that's about 300 pounds. You lift the case out, take 6 people take the lid off and begin to set up this tent. It just pops up. This tent is about 15 feet wide and about 30 feet long. So we had a good time, and I just figured I'd fill you in on that.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Is there anybody online that would need public comment? If so, please raise your hand and unmute yourself. No hands? We will close public comment at this time. City Recorder, is there any agenda updates or additions? There is.
Guys. So there are two things that I needed to add. One is, the planning commission has been talking about getting a contracted consultant for the two grants. We need to add that, and I think that can go under old business on item C. And then new business, there is no line item for that right now, but we want to discuss reimbursement district code information. We had the contractor for the most recent subdivision reach out regarding a reimbursement district. And I'm not sure if they're going to pursue that, but it might be something we want to add while planning's doing all their code updates. So we have it for future purposes.
Thank you. Okay, with that, the consent agenda, does any council members have any questions regarding the financial updates and the city council minutes that have been presented? Any questions?
No.
No questions at this time. Any questions on the estimates for the intersection park council cameras? Okay, with no discussion, may I get a motion for the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda
As is.
as is.
May I get a second? Thank you. And a vote, please.
Corrigan, I.
Victoria.
Potter, aye.
Hadeen abstain.
With that, we move to oath of office. Chief Craven.
Oh, is that what was running?
Do you want to do this or do you want?
Mr. McMullen was asked to be here at 7 o'clock, Mayor, for the.
At 7, okay, so we're gonna hold this over till later? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And can you tell me who's gonna be presenting the oath of office? The city
Yours
recorder?
Truly, city
Okay.
recorder.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Mayor, I did respond to your email, but you were in here
Isn't here? Okay,
playing catch up.
not a problem. Now we're all on the same page. Committee reports, planning commission. Please.
Hi, Ken Moore, 3890 Northwest Mount Michigan Road. Two items, one maybe for the agenda, but there's a lot of workings that I don't know, but Walt has suggested a budget for combining Title 11 and Title 10, the zoning and the land division parts of our code. And he had an estimate there. Is that on the agenda already?
Yes, that's included in the packet. Yes.
Great. So his estimate, you have to take into consideration how long he would have to sit and listen to us deliberate on how to merge those things or how to make sense of them being different and the overlaps and pull them apart. So when you consider that price, if he doesn't do that up front and presents it to us piecemeal, it's gonna cost money for his time to do it during planning commission meetings. So I think $2,000 is a good deal. The second thing is just interest. We had an application for the electronic sign to go to the existing sign in front of the grade school to be replaced with an electronic sign. So we were so grateful for our electronic sign ordinance, which has restrictions on how bright it can be over ambient lighting. And the representative, who was that? She's like your age, she came in, you weren't there, okay. Somebody from the, a mother from the school came and represented the school, and she wasn't sure whether the sign had the capability to do that, so she's gonna go back and check, because like we all kind of, like she said, we don't want a fire station sign on a pole. So we're on it, and she was like nodding in agreement, not necessarily having full approval of whoever's in the school district looking at this, but off from 9:30 and on at 6. So that's another big point that got us to be less concerned. So they're gonna come back. We continued that hearing. They'll come back with those assurances and their approval of not approval, but their feedback on a 6 a.m. to a 9:30 on time and then off after that. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that they also did the vote for the planning chair and vice chair / secretary. And they made nominations, and for you guys to approve those nominations, for chair, Ken Moore again, and for secretary, vice chair, Sean Freilinger.
Spell the last name for me.
Freilin. Do you want a motion?
Is Sean, who was the assistant vice chair previously, or is he new?
I don't know that we had one. This is the first time we've talked about secretary, vice chair. Angie, looking into the ordinances, said, hey, we need this. And so now we do have that in place.
All right, may I get a motion for that?
I make a motion to approve appointing Ken Moore as chairman for the planning commission and Sean Freilinger for vice chair / secretary.
Nadine, second.
A vote, please.
Corrigan, I.
Askey, aye.
Victoria.
Potter, aye.
Nadine, I.
Thank you. And thanks for continuing to serve on the planning commission.
Yes, thank you very much.
Very grateful to you.
My pleasure. to be
There's
part of it.
been lots of good things happening with the planning commission. It's really great to see. I do have a question for you, though, on the combining of the Title 11, Title 10.
Yes.
Can you give us a brief summary, because we got all the report and we read through it all, which was kind of dry.
Yeah.
But can you tell us why you want to combine, why that's going to be beneficial?
There is overlap between the two, and they kind of address it from two different viewpoints, and rewriting those to kind of match each other is one reason. Walt, who has done this a lot, I mean, he's gonna pretty much know exactly what he's doing when he sits down to do this. He's written these before. He says this is unusual that we have a separate title for land division and zoning. And rather than us going through it and fixing them kind of piecemeal, his overall, instead of, well, you also have a choice, I guess, of him fixing them individually and then coming for us to be educated as to why we should do it and agreeing. Or, because that's gonna take some time, and then it'll take his time explaining it to us. I think if he goes through it all, combine one document, and then brings it to us, it will be, I'm not gonna say cheaper, but the finished product will be much better. And the cost of not doing it that way is significant.
Okay. Thank you. That does help. Andy, do you need the council to vote on approval of that? Or are we?
I think it was under, is it under 5,000 that we don't need an approval for?
But it's
Which
only
is just-
two. Yeah, okay,
I think it's to let you guys know.
perfect. Thank you for letting us know. And thank you, Mr. Moore, for letting us know. And so the new business was the reimbursement code district, so do we need to address that? Or is that,
Says approval of.
we'll have Title 11 rewrite project?
Do we need a motion for that, Angie? Or just a consensus to approve it, or is that?
I think that was a discussion, just, regarding, changes to the code if you guys are wanting to proceed with a reimbursement district, or if it's something that none of the developer is not planning to move forward, with asking you guys to rewrite the code, or if it's something that you guys want to have in place for the future.
Mayor, if I may, I just decided that it should be continued for discussion. It's not pressing at this point, but to avoid that from happening again, to where you guys have to make a decision in a pressing matter, to have it looked at, and then a decision made what council wants to do when it's not pressing.
Is it pressing now?
No.
So, it was on the agenda, then off the agenda, and then back on the agenda, because instead of trying to worry about it later, let's just take care of it now
Okay.
when it's not pressing.
So what is up for debate, for question?
This needs to be reviewed again.
Just reviewed again.
Yeah, and then a discussion on what to do, and I didn't have time to research what all needs to be done, or what I know what needed to be changed.
All right, so do we want to put this on the next agenda? After reviewing?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And we'll move forward with that. On next agenda.
Can I just clean something up?
Yes,
I said
please.
she's your age. I meant to say you probably went to school with her. Jackie became a vet.
Jackie Yo.
Yeah, Jackie Young. So that's why I was. It's not like, well, you know everybody your own age. I mean, we knew her in high school. All right.
All right, unfinished business, or no, estimate from Walt Wendelowski, city planner, we did get that, right? And that's gonna be moved forward, okay. And unfinished business, EOC, EOP, updates and discussion. Chief, will you give us updates on where that's at?
I think everyone's up to speed that we've been having meetings with the tabletop exercise through the Emma Carlton School District, and we have not scheduled a second tabletop exercise yet. Just kind of have to collaborate and see how things go, especially with spring break coming up. With the EOP, I did speak with Superintendent Raver, and he is in agreement and that we could have the school, primarily the dome, as the secondary EOC. So what I'll have to do is a new, or an NIGA for that agreement. And then I will update the EOP to reflect that as the EOC. I mean, emergency operations plan for the emergency operations center, with that being the secondary location.
Okay.
So I will work on that, doing a soft revision to it. And we did meet with Brian Young from emergency management. He's the emergency management manager. And there's, as I talked about before, in 2027, some potential grant funding that we could collaborate with the city of Carlton on. It will help update our whole EOP. But I'll just do a soft update for the EOC.
Okay. Soft update for this EOC. And were we supposed to be meeting with the Yamhill Fire District Board this evening? I don't see them present,
I
that's why
don't-
I'm asking.
Other than what we discussed, I can't answer
Okay.
to that.
Do you know why they said they would be here this evening and I don't see them present? Is there, did they notify you they weren't gonna be attending, or they're just not here?
I have not heard any updates,
Okay, all right.
other than there would be an attendance.
Angie, do you see anybody representation from the fire district online?
Now I'm from the fire district is online.
Thank you.
And while she is looking hard for to answer that, I guess. I have not received any updates as well as far as what's been requested. The conversation started back October of last year up to current. There's no change regarding those
There's no
things.
change. Those requested signatures have not been provided as of yet for either the IGA for water agreement and the IGA for fuel agreement.
Correct.
And what about the building compliance that needs to be signed off by the fire department?
As far as I'm to understand, if we're talking about coming in and signing of documents, or are you talking about a specific one?
Well, this, that we've been able to get those signed and turned back over to the resident.
Yes, is what we did was, we meaning those that are involved in the process, chose a date and a specific time each week for signatures. And I'm not sure if it was devised or decided to have each week or every other week, but they have a designated date and time to make sure those are done so that things get signed in an appropriate timeline.
Okay.
And as late of, that was reported to me today, that those have all been signed.
They have all been signed. Okay. And so setting up a regular meeting time to get those addressed is working?
It's happened 1.5 times, so,
Okay. Well,
yes.
that's a start. That's good. Okay, thank you for that. So the residents that have come to us with things that need to be taken care of by the fire department, those residents have been taken care of and are there's no additional residents waiting for support from the city. Is that correct?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. That's glad to hear that.
Should we do Andrew next?
We should. We are going to, we are finished with unfinished businesses, and we are going to move back to our agenda to oath of office. Angie, I understand. That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Right there is perfect. I'm gonna give you a copy too, so you can read it, but I'm gonna. So if I can get you to raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I, Andrew McMillan, swear that I will faithfully support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Oregon and the charter and ordinances of the city of Yamhill.
I, Andrew McMillan, swear that I will faithfully support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Oregon and the charter and ordinance of the city of Yamhill.
And I will perform the duties of a reserve police officer for the city of Yamhill to the best of my ability.
And I will perform the duties of a reserve police officer for the city of Yamhill to the best of my ability,
So long as I may continue in that capacity.
so long as I may continue in that capacity.
Congratulations.
Councilman Cleve,
Yes,
can you
ma'am.
kind of tell us about a little, for the record, the process that it takes in order to get to this point?
So this process has been long and drawn out, and I have to take responsibility for why that's taken so long. But after going through the application process and the hiring process, interviews, background process, credit check, psych exam, we have come to this point. So offering Mr. McMullen an opportunity to come back and serve for the city of Yamhill after his tenure as a city councilman, fireman. Now he can be a reserveman.
Well, we're grateful for you. Thank you very much for
Looking
your,
forward to get him trained up.
absolutely. Good to have you on board.
Mhm.
It's always exciting. All right, on to department reports. Administration, do you want to give a report on the updates for February 24th? With the administration, sir.
Just waiting. So everyone has the staff report that was submitted.
Extensive.
Any questions about the great work that all the staff are doing? And I know we've had, in the past, we've had some of the workshops that focused on the city and the work that we do as a community with staff members and with council, and the communication has been great in that respect, and that was kind of one of the biggest things. And with the strategic plan that we just had the opportunity to attend, which kind of reiterated a lot of those concepts of the workshop and moving forward. So I'm excited about that. Staff is excited about that. We have extremely busy plates, a lot of responsibilities, and this will add to that, but us working together, I think that we'll be able to accomplish those things.
I don't have any questions. I just do want to comment though on I love the documentation of all of this, but it then makes me wonder, how do you get all this done in a day's work?
Well, this is just a preface of everything the staff does, and I want to make sure everybody understands that. This is just a preface of everything that this staff does.
Well, it's exceptional. Thank you to you and all of your staff. Does council have any questions on any of what we've read? No. Where are we at with National Night Out? Left.
Yeah, we did have a meeting. It could have been yesterday, but it wasn't, last week, I believe. And making some preliminary things that we want to do for National Night Out, and then also things that we want to do as fundraisers. And I needed a good laugh after the week I've had. So Angie was able to provide that with me with some of the flyers that she's making up, which look like a lot of fun to do. So thank you. I needed that laugh. So she's working on some flyers for advertising of some of the things that are gonna be taking place as fundraisers for it.
Okay, and I did see that some of the police stats are being posted on the city's Facebook page, is that correct?
Yes.
So what kind of response are you receiving from that?
It's been all positive, and there has been an expressed interest to continue to do that. So Corporal Van Cleve will continue to post those things.
Okay, excellent. And that's essentially part of that is this report that we receive monthly, is that? Part
Yeah,
of
that's
that.
it's a revision of those statistics.
But just goes a little more in depth, is that accurate to say?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Counselors?
I just thought it was great that he put that on the Facebook,
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Facebook, the book and
On
faces.
Facebook, yeah. Anything additional for administration?
Not for that or the other ones that kind of speak to both hats, so
Okay, do you want to speak to the police department?
just did.
Just did, okay.
Nothing new to add, same, I mean, there's the staff report and then the report, the statistics, so.
Okay. Good
So
staff
yes.
report.
If anyone has any questions about that.
Great
as well.
updates. Perfect. Any additional comments? No. All right, Public Works.
Yeah, there again, my report's there. The one major factor in that report is the field trip we took to Carlton. Spoke with the Public Works Director about some new aerators that they implemented into their system, and the benefits of having those aerators. We took engineering with us on this field trip. We came to realize that we had 2 CIP projects listed at $1.1 million, that these aerators for $100,000 will fix it and fix the problem.
So what
So,
was 1 point something million is now only
That's-
100,000 something?
yeah, we took our engineers out there.
Keep doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, so those aerators actually feed off your sludge blanket that we have notoriously told everybody about. So with the dead zones and the sludge blanket being where they're at, those aerators basically take that sludge blanket and spread it and feed all your microbiology, all your bugs, in a sense, better product from
So
the
this is
bottom.
on the sewer.
This is on the
one-
sewer end.
okay.
So we had Joe Proc, who represents the vendor that has these. We're gonna be doing a trial test in our Lagoon One, which has the largest sludge blanket that will do dispersing of that. Talked with engineering. I mean, they're fully on board. We're just kind of lucky we kind of bumped into this solution. So we're moving forward. We're gonna be, with Graven's help, chief, and staff, we're gonna be writing up a resolution to use the money that we actually have on hand right now to get those aerators in place. So.
Did you go specifically to look at that, or you found that
Yes,
out when you?
no, we specifically went there. We knew that they were doing some pretty major upgrades to their system, and we wanted to see the aerators because we've been having problems with our dissolved oxygen, and we know that our permitting is gonna be changing here pretty soon, pretty rapidly. So we wanted to get ahead of the curve and see what the dollar amount was. So Brian expressed the aerators being the number one thing that he's seen the results in. And yeah, and when we saw the price tag and what we saw what the 2 CIP projects came to, we realized real quick, we kind of stumbled into something great right now. So we're fully on board and moving 1,000% that way. We were trying to use at the time some of our grant funding from Yamhill County. From our influent lift station, we had about $86,000 left over after planning was done and developed in survey to use that funding to fund this project, but we're stumbling into some things, but we do have the 100,000 banked aside for some other issues we had with I and saw this as a greater need long-term.
Is there anything we can do to support your efforts?
No, I think next month you'll see the resolution. I think that's when we'll need their support from you guys.
Excellent, okay. And do you have a plan for the 100,000?
Yeah, it's pretty laid out. We had a line item in this year's current budget where we had issues with procurement of that contract, and we just are gonna spin it to use that 100,000 towards the aerators.
And we're getting 2?
You're getting 2 aerators. Yes.
So is that 200,000 or is that 2
No, it's
for,
100,000.
2 for 1 kind of
Yeah,
thing?
2 for 1.
So what are they? Do they sit stationary in the bottom, or do they float around like a chlorine thing in a pool, or?
No, they sit stationary, and what they do is basically there's a kind of almost like a bag component at the bottom that will touch the bottom of your lagoon bed. And basically it draws all that air and sucks all that up, and then it disperses it out almost like a sprinkler.
Oh, so it just kind of stirs it, makes it break down quicker.
Yeah, so,
Well, good find. Good field trip.
yeah, it was.
Speaking of field trip, Jason, do you mind if I come out and kind of get a better look in person?
Not at all.
You're okay with that?
Anytime, yeah.
Are you available on Friday? Will you be?
Yeah.
I'd like to come too.
Yeah, when's a good time for you?
Afternoon works best.
Okay, how about 1:30?
Yeah, that works.
1:30?
Yeah.
And meet you down at the Public Works
Yeah.
office? Friday. And any council member is appropriate
Anybody's
to,
welcome.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I would love to see that
How big are they?
concept.
No, the component out in the water itself is probably 6 foot in diameter.
Oh.
So there'll be 2 of them, so ultimately 12 foot, and then they run off some pretty high motors, which, I don't know, I think it's only like a 210.
Sorry, I have a ton of questions, and maybe you'd rather wait till Friday, so
No, it's
how do you?
okay, no, I mean, you guys won't see
What's
it in
their power
action.
source then? How do you do that?
From our headworks upgrade can source that power.
How do you get them down there and attached? Ew.
Oh, that just attaches to the motors on the outside. So basically, the motors run it from the outskirts from your lagoon.
Oh, the
road.
motor's outside of the lagoon.
Correct.
Okay.
has
to get in it.
No, we said,
Yeah,
yeah, nobody
you.
has to get in. And that was one of the other key components of this, the mechanical end, as far as fixes, is all done at this sub base. You don't have to go out there to fix anything, everything's done.
Perfect.
right
And they're in
outside.
good repair, they're not brand new, is that,
They are brand new,
they are brand new,
Wow.
that's impressive.
it is, I mean, like I said, the major factor outside of the sludge blanket is to get ahead of the curve with permitting. Cause that's something the city has to look forward to with all of it,
And who do we have to get permitting from?
that's DEQ. We don't have to get permitting from them, our permitting is gonna be changing, our permitting is already dated, I should say,
DEQ is changing the requirements, is that what that means?
sooner than later.
Oh,
They
so we're
haven't
doing it
yet.
before they,
Yeah.
yeah. Isn't that a treat?
Mhm.
All
Okay,
right,
more questions on Friday.
but you're
Yeah.
preparing for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you for preparing for it.
Definitely.
All right, 1:30 on Friday.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. So, I gotta ask for the record. How much will we be saving in this route?
Well, you would have been spending, for the aerators alone, I think it was 827,000. That was projected engineer cost before we found it. So just alone, you're saving around 700,000 plus.
Wow, okay. More good news?
There's lots of good news. I mean, as far as the system itself and the redundancy behind the water. I mean, we've seen upticks, less water loss. We've seen a lot less water loss. Our production is upticked about 100,000 due to the fact, and this is only a benefit to Kyle and, only to tap him on the back, but he did an exceptional job with our backwash flows. I mean, he's now recirculating that back into the system where now we're running shorter backflow and backwash times, so we're saving an extra 100,000 that we're producing, making water. There hasn't
That's at
been.
the treatment plant.
That's at the treatment plant. Yeah, water loss now, I mean, just to give you guys kind of an inside kind of look at it, at this time last, let's say 3 years ago, you guys were using 397 gallons per minute. You're currently at this time of day, or even in the early mornings, are using 57.
The city's using 57?
Yeah,
Or
that's how much
all-
is, that's how much is just coming out of our reservoirs, about 57 gallons or 97 gallons. That's due to the, people like King and Sons, Public Works, and just the due diligence behind the distribution system itself. So you've gained, 300 gallons at certain peak hours.
So the water users for the city of Yuma, because this is
Big,
This is
I'll
my
put it out
point.
there.
has gone from utilizing 397 gallons per minute and reduced their usage down to 57 gallons per
At
minute
certain peak hours, yeah.
at certain peak hours.
See that mostly, 8 to noon, and then probably around, 6 to midnight.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's substantial.
yeah, it is. And we're only building on that. I mean, we're getting ready right now for next fiscal year, and doing the distribution line between Camella all the way to north, or to Morse Valley. So that'll be a whole new distribution line connected there with all new service lines that'll connect and intertie from the transmission line where it stopped.
What do you attribute this to?
Effort, true effort. I mean, we really had a mission as Public Works to go out and make as many fixes, major fixes, small fixes that we possibly could, to not only the operations side, but also the distribution side. We brought in a lot of people that were qualified and had the background that gave us the knowledge and kind of gave us the keys to the door.
Excellent, good for you for reaching out. So how does this impact the city's ability to produce enough water? I know storage is still something
Storage
we're
is still-
working on.
Right.
So our storage and our ability to access a lot of water for an extended period of time
I mean,
is still limited because we don't have enough
I
storage.
guess in the most simple terms I could put it is at one point you're using 500,000 gallons a day. I mean,
Over that,
just, I'm not gonna get into the math behind it, but right now you're probably using around 275,000
average.
average. A lot of it has to do with operations too. Like when we went in and did the filter media upgrade to give you guys better quality, we realized right then and there with the time that we spent with TAG, the time we spent with the Xylem, time we spent with our DRC, that our operations were off a tick. Like we were wasting a lot of water trying to make clean water instead of recirculating that back into the system. I mean, a typical backwash, we were wasting probably 50 to 75,000 gallons within every day. And we realized we could recirculate that and kind of take away the module of time and those kind of upgrades. Yeah. And just knowing where the weak points were in the system and knowing how to tackle it and working within the confines of our budget,
Which you've done.
which we've done.
So would you say that in the last 3 years since our major event that brought a lot of things to light, we have made a dramatic improvement?
Yeah,
in
I
our
would
water
say from,
systems?
the resident standpoint, the utility ratepayers, I mean, they've made a substantial difference on how they use water. I feel like our water rate study brought a lot of things to kind of light at the same time. I feel like having a strong public works, a compassionate, caring public works. I feel like putting there again, I don't want to sound like I'm just regurgitating information, but putting a lot of trust in the people that had more knowledge, you know, instead of just taking that burden on from public works all on your shoulders and kind of just micro projecting. We went out and tackled big stuff and staff support all the way around. And it's all the little things count and kind of added up to where we're now. You know, it's actually pretty exceptional if you think about it. And even with our lagoons and how they operate. We don't have sludge blankets like we used to. We don't have, certain components in that system that, we're doing detrimental things to it. So, I mean, we've lowered those levels extremely. So, my hats off to everybody. And, we continue to progress.
I really am excited to hear that. How do we get this information out to the community? How do we let them know
I think,
all the
and-
advances and improvements in quality of water specifically?
right, this is step one. Step two, Angie's great at articulating that, on the Hill's website. Share it with as many people as we can. I mean, we stumble across, residents and everyday life and, they want to know and we educate them on it. But from a kind of a large picture, I think, these conversations help. I mean, here we are trying to educate the public and, I'll kind of lean on admin to kind of put the word out there and.
Could you do something like that, like Travis is doing on Facebook? You do something like that, just a little ditty,
Yeah,
little update?
I think everybody here knows the importance of sharing and especially the communication aspect.
Absolutely.
Um,
A stats update would be awesome.
I think, we did kind of drug our feet with the CIPs, but we'll do anything, any way that you guys kind of direct us as far as information.
Do these filters, I just lost my question.
Aerators?
Aerators, thank you. It's gone. I'll ask another time. Friday. Okay. Anything else, Jason? More good news?
Your tree's planted.
The tree in the park?
The tree in the park is planted.
Yay!
What tree?
Jonathan Calhoun Park has a tree
Oh,
now.
nice.
What kind of,
Yay.
what kind?
We went with a flowering plum.
It's already blossoming.
Is it blossoming?
Aw.
It's blossoming right now?
That's nice.
I might have to drive by and check that out.
It's small now, but with time it'll grow, so
It's a tree though.
it is a tree.
Yeah, we like it.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a small park, a small trees go.
Yeah. There you go.
And I would just like to say that the trail is beautiful
Oh,
and
thank
so accessible. Same with the park. It's really nice to,
Thank you.
really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's fun to throw the ball and let your dog run through the puddles that she
Right.
doesn't know are there.
yeah, along with that, I guess, I'll kind of end, I met with IDA to support, the Beverly Cleary event, and, they expressed the same things, that they're
Mhm.
just really happy with the maintenance, the care, and kind of. the
Question about the
beautification.
trail.
Yeah.
Who puts the bark chips down on that?
We kind of just stumbled on those, with the Asplin. We just kind of, our budget really isn't strong enough to
Oh, you have to
support
pay
it.
for it?
No, they give it to us for free, so,
Oh.
it comes sporadically.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to kind of get that relationship where they come to us, but they have a few spots in town that they prefer just because of the ease of the
Oh,
egress,
yeah,
it's-
yeah.
so. Yeah,
Oh, that's too bad.
yeah,
Okay.
It is a very good price though.
it's good, yeah.
It's good. We like that. Okay. Okay, I'm liking this.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Jason? You're good? All right, council reports. We had our City of Yamhill Strategic Doing Visioning discussion. With the strategic doing summary is attached in your packet.
Extensive.
It was extensive. We had a great turnout. We had almost 30 people there. Lots of good opinions, lots of good input. The Doug Rux was really informative and very good at presenting and then gleaning from the community their thoughts on what they wanted to see in order to make Yamhill a more thriving community. And we got a lot of input. He kind of put it into categories for us of the downtown beautification, public safety and emergency services, housing, economic development, historical and cultural resources, parks and recreations, governance, schools and education, infrastructure, private utilities, community engagement, land use, transportation, and miscellaneous. And so at this point, it's now kind of up to the city to decide what they want to do with this information and if we want to continue in this process of strategic planning, or if we want to, or if we're just good with this and think, okay, we'll deal with this another time. I would really like to see us go to the next step and start having work sessions with the community on continuing this process and creating a full strategic plan. We can do that on our own. We could hire somebody to be a consultant and support the city in processing this through to the completion so that we have a strategic plan that we can utilize as a tool for down the road, continuing down the road on what projects we want to take on. Basically, what Doug talked about was starting with the low-hanging fruit and working our way up to the bigger projects. So this would be a good place to start. But we do need a director, a coordinator, and we do need the community in order to make it happen. Excuse me. Thoughts, council?
You're welcome. No, I think it's great. I don't know about, well, the nice thing about hiring someone, although we have to spend money, but they don't have any other agenda other than to address this. They don't bring anything else to it, so they can be, they have a vision and their guidance is really clear. And I think sometimes when we just do things, the waters get a little muddied. So that's the benefit I see of hiring someone.
And I don't think we have the expertise as a council anyway to do
We'll
that.
just get stuck and tread water, yeah. We need to move
Yeah.
forward.
I think with the list of foundations and other resources that were provided along with that, I think you'd probably find the solution who should be in charge of that in that.
I agree. It provided us a lot of resources to
Yeah.
consider. And a lot of that, the resources are places we can go for funding to
Oh.
support a coordinator
Sure.
and to support the process. Once we have a finished tool, I think it would really be beneficial to us as a community because it would then be on paper and it would be a good direction. I have a sample that he sent me. I don't know if it was included in the email or not, but a sample he sent me of another city that has done the same process and what their tool, their strategic plan looked like for them, and it was pretty impressive. And it talked about, once you have an idea, the plan, and you create what it's gonna take to make it happen, then the steps you do to make it happen. And then to see it come to fruition was really quite impressive. And I think we're on the cusp. I think the city of Yamhill is right on that cusp of being forward-thinking, being active in the overall community as a whole, and holding our own.
Having a coordinator would be very helpful, but we also need to look at cost and funding options to fund that position.
Absolutely,
The budget's tight as it is to.
it is. What if this person was able to access that funding to essentially pay for themselves?
So I think that's exactly how you do that.
Yeah.
I think so too.
With grant writing qualifications.
With grant writing qualifications, yeah.
Mhm.
I agree. So I think cost and funding would be a concern, but I don't think it's an issue. Any other thoughts on it? Move forward, don't move forward?
Definitely move forward.
Yeah, move forward.
And just make sure that that it pays for itself.
All right, next steps. We'll go there. I will make that happen. All right, council reports, information announcements, PGE rate review for the changes in 2025. I didn't see that. Was that available? I didn't have it, no.
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
They're going up, not down, so.
You're right.
Well, we know that, don't we?
And they want more.
And we always want more.
Well, I can forward it to you and I can post it, it's just they're in the process of reviewing rates for next year.
Are they projecting?
Sent to us regarding it.
Are they projecting a percentage?
I don't know.
7 to 7.5%.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's substantial. And there's somebody else. Oh, our garbage. The Recology is going to be giving us an update recently, but because of staffing issues, they've had to put their reports on hold and won't be doing their annual report with the city and then request
Rate
for,
increase.
yeah, rate increases. So we don't have to anticipate rate increases soon, but they will be coming to the table here in the near future. That's all I've got. Council, anybody have anything to report?
Did we follow up with doing like a survey or something about First Friday, or are we gonna continue this First Friday?
We were gonna do a survey and I haven't had an opportunity to talk to our surveyor person that we had recruited. But I will check into that and get back to you and do a survey on first Fridays. I do know that I would like to cancel the May first Friday. I won't be available, and so we cancel the May first Friday if somebody else isn't available.
I might be able to step in. Patty, could I make a suggestion?
What's
I
that?
was thinking about that because I know that when you first started joining our meetings, they were a little more interactive. And then we've had to pull back so we could maintain order and get our business done in a timely fashion. And I appreciate everybody's adhering to that. I really do, because it's hard to have a meeting on to 10 o'clock. But could you tell people to come to the first Friday, then they have questions and they could be addressed there, because we don't have an agenda and we don't have to wait for others to speak and all that kind of stuff. We could have, it'd be more conversational. People have concerns, that first Friday might be a perfect time for that. Wouldn't be.
I personally have not seen those.
Well, that is,
Just because, I'll put it that way.
that's why we created it though, is so that people would have a free forum to just come and sit
Yeah.
and chat with us and ask questions and get feedback, and we can have conversations back and forth without the limitations of council business.
So, I'm gonna make a comment in regards to that, and I don't want to offend anybody, but my concern is, I'm gonna try not to. My concern is, and this is why I haven't come, is that I want to be able to get honest answers, regardless of how hard it is to get that. You know, I mean, if I said, is the city of Yamhill going broke? I want somebody to be able to say, yes, we are. That's just obviously an example. But when I go to things like that, I want to hear honest answers regardless of how hard it is to hear.
I would be honest, there also might be some things I couldn't disclose, and I would honestly tell you that.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to disclose that, but I would be honest with my answers. Okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a good idea.
I do too. It's
And-
more relaxed, and just so if you could tell people if they want to take part and come do that, it's more of a social. I mean, not, you know what I mean?
No, okay, no.
That's how the tree got planted.
Right, and there you have it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yes.
I may have missed it, but I'm not sure if council was aware, there was an inquiry made by the YDA who's working on some grants. And once those grants are awarded, there's requirements by someone to keep track of what's being done with the work of those grants. And also paperwork that's required for the grants. And so the city needs to make a decision upon their request of who's gonna be doing that.
So I'm gonna clarify what my understanding of what you just said is the Yamhill Downtown Association is submitting for grant funding. And the grant funding people are requiring that the YDA get,
Can I
Please.
step in? I'm sorry. It's for the planning commission?
For planning commission.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay,
the
okay.
economic development committee, and
Okay.
there are actual, a lot of members on YDA that are giving information as well. It's for the $47,000 DLCD grant and the $10,600 DLCD grant. And it was discussed in the planning commission that Walt doesn't have a capacity to make a consultant on it. He'd be the one attending the meetings and helping with the help me out, Ken. He'd be helping with any code revisions or whatever they need to be doing, that type of stuff, but they need to look at getting somebody to manage how we report the grants back to them to get reimbursed for the things that we're doing.
And it's not something that they can do, they don't have the ability to do that, or?
There's something that planning can do.
No, downtown association.
no, it's not
I
downtown.
used the wrong acronym.
Oh,
It's the Economic Development Planning Commission.
gotcha.
You see, the grant is written to the city. And so being on the Economic Development Committee, we can't authorize any spending. You have to. And
I just thought it was downtown
that's what
association.
Chief Braden was trying to make a point, was the city has to manage the money that YDA got the grant for.
Economic Development Committee.
Well,
What are you talking?
So they're doing the grant writing, they're doing the grant work. Once the grant is received, it's received by the city. It needs to be managed by the city.
Yes, it needs to be managed in
manage.
some way.
So I attended the meeting as well, the planning commission meeting, so in the grant, there's a series of things that have to happen in a specific order and a specific timeline, so then somebody has to be there to say, this is what we're doing next, and to report back in order to keep the grant money available.
Okay.
Who
So
is that person?
They have a person whose name I'm not sure of, but when Wendolowski spoke of the gentleman's name, I don't know what it is.
There's two people that were brought up, Doug Rux was brought up and also Steve
Faust.
Yes. So I believe that they spoke of one gentleman for one grant, one for the other grant. And some discussion about maybe having them team up to operate both. But what that looks like monetarily was unclear.
And so they're wanting the city to pay for consultants to manage the grant funding?
Yes, I think.
That's the
No
bottom line
one's
ask.
given me an estimate on costs of what the consultants would cost or anything like that, but they're speaking about it. And I think Walt wasn't sure how we go about contracting somebody out to do this. If the city has specific rules on.
And it would be a contract, is that correct? And it can't be managed by the city itself?
Good, but
I think it can be, but you would risk it not hitting those timelines and
we are at
Accomplish
capacity.
those.
There is no one employee here that would be able to do that. And they would basically, depending on what the project is, for example, with the police department, there are several grants that we have that we manage. And there's timelines and requirements for reporting and documents that are required and press releases and everything. And
So it's
I know
expensive.
that it's extensive just for those. And I know that every staff member is at capacity and can't take on that responsibility. And I don't want to set any of our staff up to fail.
Yeah.
So we need
Or
someone,
lose the grant opportunity.
so we need someone to do that, hence back to having someone that does grant writing, especially with the strategic plan, to see if we can mold someone into that same type of position.
So if we contract a coordinator for the strategic plan, we could incorporate that as part of the contract agreement? Is that what
Possibly,
you're
yes, possibly,
Suggesting?
possibly. However, we need someone for both.
I think there's a matter of expertise too on shepherding like an urban growth boundary through the process. Someone needs to really hold our hand through that.
Right.
And so we're hiring that knowledge,
Okay,
not just administrating and reporting back to the grant organization.
an economic development person who is minded in that kind of field. Is that what you're saying?
Right, but our economic development committee doesn't have the expertise to know.
No.
To begin, really. So we need to see, Walt could do it, but he says, look, no, this would be better done by somebody else. So it's kind of a Walt kind of person that has been trained and has the knowledge and experience on how to spend the money.
Okay. So,
Can I clear up one thing? I see
Yes,
there's a little
please.
confusion around YDA and Economic Development Committee. YDA is independent from the city as far as I know.
nonprofit.
Yeah.
Right. And the Economic Development Committee is under the
City
umbrella of the
oversight.
Planning Commission, so they answer to the city. So when we're talking about this grant thing, I think we're better to say Economic Development Committee, not YDA, just leave that out of that conversation. A lot of people, the two committees overlap.
Well, they've got mutual members.
Yes, that's
But
what I was
that's
gonna
it.
say.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're separate.
They are separate.
And the
Right.
grants are separate.
Okay. Because I know the YDA is going after grants as well,
Right,
but we don't manage the YDA grants any longer.
right. But though the 47,000 and the 10,000 grant are two separate grants for two separate reasons.
I apologize, I misspoke on the acronym.
That's all right.
We do it all the time.
there's a lot of acronyms in this town.
There's a lot. Okay,
So we need to find out that what they would charge to manage those?
then we need more information
Mhm.
before we can give the okay for that.
Just the acknowledgement that council is aware and
We're aware and
more
open.
likely than not will be a cost involved. We don't know because we don't have any answers yet, but just acknowledgement to move forward.
Yeah.
That it has to happen. It's not something.
And
that-
again, that cost could potentially be incorporated into the grant request, is
So,
that right?
yeah, that would be great, but I don't have an answer for that yet.
So we need more information, Ken.
Yeah, I guess, Angie, I guess the thing to do is get on the agenda, maybe even before our next meeting is next week. So on the agenda would be talking to Walt about going to these people to administrate these grants and have them give us an estimate of their
Yes.
services.
Perhaps we could even invite them to the planning meeting. Even by Zoom, where they could maybe discuss what their estimates would be to speed that along a bit,
Yeah,
if they were willing to do so.
Ask for a proposal.
Yeah, so it's informational at this point, that's what's going to need to happen.
request for proposal from them, right, and that would be probably in writing, and if they wanted to present it in person, but to get that done by Monday, I think probably won't happen, so it may just be a phone call to those two individuals asking for a proposal. We may not be able to come back and report on it. Things can happen after our meeting, but we won't have another meeting before I'm back in front of you, so hopefully we'll get some things done before that second meeting.
Thank you very much. Putting a lot of work into this, thank you.
Thank you.
They're great opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Walt would
Nice.
definitely need to be involved in this because he was the one that wrote both the grants.
Yeah. We got them. We got them. That's a win.
So I think if it's agreed that we can move forward with the inquiries of who that might be and then speak with me about it. And then I can talk with the mayor about it because now they're aware of what's going on. And then depending on the funding, especially with the budget coming up, working through that with our budget committee and budget officer and see how we can at least get that worked into the budget. So that's why I want to do it expediently.
So did I get this
Follow me,
right?
Ken?
We could request proposals from these two and get those to you.
Correct.
Got it.
And then I'll work with the mayor on that. Council's aware of it. And then we can work on numbers for budget at least, and then maybe have a decision made at the next council meeting with all of that in place.
I understand.
That work?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sounds good.
both. Jason, I remember what I was gonna ask you. The Bike Trail Association or the Bike Trail people want to do some bike trail creation out here in the Yamhill area. And they were asking about putting a sign in the park. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, they've picked a location. We're just waiting for them to solidify that's the location they want, and we'll put in for locates and away the sign goes.
So you've approved for them for the space they picked? Okay, so they had.
Is
no-
it down there?
It's at Mule Park.
They do-
Oh,
And it's kind of near the bathrooms, is that accurate? And so it's, do you want to give her a brief summary? Because I think she missed that one.
Yeah, so what the mayor's saying is that they picked out a design for their sign, it's slash bench, it's gonna be placed next to Beulah Park's bathroom there. Right where oddly enough, where the power station is on the outside, on the south end of the park. And that's the area they chose just because of the location to the bathrooms.
oh, there's one bench there?
It's bench slash sign, it's.
Like a kiosk, correct?
It's a kiosk
Yeah, a
Oh,
kiosk.
gotcha,
that highlights the hiking trails in the area.
gotcha. I thought they were.
Really
gonna make a
nice.
bike
So they
trail.
would then come to Beulah Park, get their
With
bikes.
their map.
And they'd see the map and then they decide their trails and they take routes to wherever they want to go. So it's a kiosk for the biking community. And they were gonna present tonight, but they weren't able to make it.
It's a beautiful kiosk, I will say, like it's.
It is nice and
Nice.
it fits our community, it fits the It
The
fits.
aesthetics, yeah.
Yeah, the aesthetics, thank you. So they will be presenting at the next council meeting their plan and their request. I don't believe there's any funding expectations from the city. I think it's all coming from a grant that they're accessing. And I think the sign is about $10,000 to install, which is not cheap. But they just needed permission to put it in the park, permission from the city to make it happen, so they'll be presenting it at the next council meeting.
Nice.
So giving you a heads up on that one. And that's all I have for this evening. Is there any additional, anything anybody wants to present?
Nope, would you like a motion?
Please.
Mayor?
Oh.
I have one last comment. The $10 million grant that Chief Graven spoke about that is offered up by the Oregon Department of Human Services Office of Resilience and Emergency Management closes the 15th of next month,
April. Tax day.
April 15th.
Okay,
So don't let it go by.
okay.
It's a lot of money.
Make a
Well
motion,
said.
we adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Okay, here's your questionnaire. Lunch at 11:30.